Hello. Let's start this day with the positive vibes. And let's start the... So you can see now. Can you see my screen? Give me a thumbs up if you can see my screen, please. Thank you so much. So this is letter A. Graphing a quadratic function with a positive value. Okay, how can we identify if it is a smiley face or sad face? Check the quadratic term. Here we have the quadratic term. Okay, it is a positive. So if the quadratic term, let me just write it in here. If the quadratic term is positive, the graph is smiley face. There you go. It's going up. And the vertex is this one. The vertex is minimum. It has a minimum vertex. Minimum. Because that is the lowest point. Take note of that. Those are the clues that you need to remember. If the quadratic term is negative, the graph is sad face. Hoo-hoo. And the vertex, because it is the peak point, it has a maximum. Okay, remember those stuff. You may use this one as a clue, especially if the given questions have a multiple choice. So you can easily eliminate those wrong or incorrect answers. Okay, so now we're going to identify the A, B, and C. Okay, please type your answer or your response on the chat box. Can you give me the numerical coefficient for the quadratic term? What is the A? Since we have x squared in here, what is the A? I will give you 1 minute to type your answer on the chat box. I can now see an answers. Good job. 1 minute. 1 minute starts now. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for your responses. If you cannot see any numerical coefficient on our variables, you're right. The answer is 1. So the A value is 1. Good job. Now, I will stop the timer because 1 minute is good enough because you already respond. I think you just need a second for me, seconds for me to for you to answer my question. Now, next question. What is the linear term? What is the numerical coefficient of the linear term? Can you see an x, a number with an x? Good job. Okay. Don't forget, the standard form is y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c, where bx is the linear term. So since we do not have in here a number without an x only beside it, so you're right. It is, the b value is 0 because we do not have an x itself. Okay? Next, what is the constant? A fixed number. I can see now a response. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. Okay, let me highlight it. Don't forget the negative sign. So letter C is negative 1. So that is how we identify the A, B, and C. Is it easy? Okay, give me a thumbs up if is it easy. Okay, now we're going to look for a vertex, axis of symmetry, and the roots. Remember that the roots are the points that touch by your graph on the x-axis. And if it is open upward or downward, what is the opening? Obviously, the quadratic term is positive. Okay, so the quadratic term is positive. So what is the opening of the graph? Quadratic term is positive. So if it is positive, it is happy face. So if it is happy face, what is the opening? Upward or downward? Type your answer on the chat box. Upward. Good job. It is upward. Okay? Look at it. It is a happy face. So the opening of the parabola is going up. So it is upward. Let me just write upward. Upward. Remember those 12. Next, let us identify first the AOS or the axis of symmetry. AOS or the axis of symmetry. So to find the axis of symmetry, we will use the formula, which is x is equal to negative b over 2a. There you go. So let us substitute the value. Our b is 0. And then 2 times a. The a is 1. So let us simplify our answer. So negative times 0, any number that you multiply by 0, the answer is 0, even though it is a negative or what. And then 2 times 1 is 2. And since we cannot divide 0, what is 0 divided 2? The answer is 0. Okay? So the axis of symmetry is 0. X is equal to 0. Now, since we already have the value of the x, we're going to look for the y. What is the y? Okay, so find the vertex. To find the vertex, we're going to find and look for the x and y. Since we already find the x, our answer must supposed to be in an ordered pair. So we will use parentheses. We already have the x. Let me just change this one into x. X and then the y. So we already have the value of the x. We've got the x value a while ago, which is 0. Now we're going to look for the y. To find the y, we will just plug in the value of x. Okay? So the equation is x squared minus 1. Y now is equal to, we'll replace or substitute the x by 0. Then squared minus 1. Rules in exponent, 0 squared is not 0 times 2. It is 0 squared is equal to 0 times 0. You multiply the base by itself. The exponent is 2 and the base is 0. So 0 times 0 is 0. So we have now 0 minus 1. And 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So the vertex is 0, negative 1. Yay! We've got y. We got the y values, which is negative 1. There you go. So we can now write the vertex, which is 0, negative 1. Don't forget the comma, because if you will not use the comma, it will become 0 minus 1. That is wrong. Okay? Okay, thank you so much for your responses. At least you try to solve it. Okay, thank you. Good job. You're doing a good job. Now we're going to look for the roots itself. How to find the roots or the zeros. When your y value is 0, okay, those are the zeros. Those are the x-intercept. Those are the solution. Take note, okay? I will just let you to remember this one. I will just put a conclusion in here. Take note of this one. Remember that roots, okay? Roots are also known as solutions. We've called them different terms, but they are just the same. Okay? Solutions. Root solution. Sometimes we call them also zeros. So during the benchmark or CFAs, if they're asking you what are the zeros, those are also the roots. If they're asking you what are the roots, they are also the solutions. And these are also the x-intercepts, where your graph touch the x-axis. Okay? Remember this concept. They are just the same, but we're just using different terms. They will become x-intercept when you graph them. There become zeros when you plug in when you substitute the y into zeros. Now, how to find the zeros? Okay? How to find the zeros? Let us find the zeros. Okay, let us change the y into 0. Okay, so let y equals to 0. The equation is y is equal to x squared minus 1. Okay, you will use your knowledge on your previous math about radicals in here. So if you are not familiar with radicals, make sure that you review them. Okay, so now y is equal to 0. We'll substitute y into 0. And then x squared minus 1. There you go. Now, we can now move this one, the constant, on the other side. So it will become, since it's crossing the equal sign, so from negative 1, it will become positive 1. 0 plus 1 is just 1. So we'll not write again zeros. So now we have now x squared equals 1. Okay. Now we can also rewrite the equation into x squared equals 1. I just want to write the variables on the left side. So I just replace them because they are just equal. To eliminate the numerical the exponent in here, we will square both sides. Oh, no. I will just erase this one. It's not 0, it is 1. Let me correct this one. There you go. So to eliminate the square root, we will square root both sides. If you square root the left side to make the equation equal and balanced, you will also square root the other side. So a square root of the squared, we're going to cancel it. It will become an x. And what is the square root of 1? When you squared a number, it always have two answers. So it is positive and negative 1. So the value or the solutions, okay, is a positive and negative 1. So the roots are, we have two roots in here, positive 1 and negative 1. We will not use a parenthesis because this is not a ordered pair. So we're using a bracket to find the roots. You may also write your answer as like this. 1, 0, or. I will just write the word or in here. Or, and negative 1, 0. Or sometimes they also write the roots as the x-intercept as x is equal to 1. X is equal to 1. We have different format. Just recognize this format because sometimes on the major test, they show the answers in a different way so that you will not get confused. So I'm showing you the different form on how to write the roots. So sometimes they use brackets, sometimes they use an ordered pair, or sometimes they use the value of the x for the x-intercepts. Okay, so we now have the roots and the vertex. So let us now graph it. Let me use a red pen so that you can see the difference. We'll start in graphing it. We'll start with the vertex. The vertex is 0, negative 1. So 0 for the x, we're graphing it starting from the x and then the y. So 0 on the x, so x is 0 in here, and then negative 1 on the y will be in here. So the vertex is in here, okay? And then we're going to use the two roots, the concept of the roots. We have positive 1, 0. Positive 1, 0 is in here. And then negative 1, 0 is in here. And we're right, the axis of symmetry is 0. So the axis of symmetry is a vertical line. So we can use a graph, a broken line here or dashed line to show the axis of symmetry. And then, okay, so we may use the vertex as the middle point. So we have 0, negative 1 in here. We can use this one. And then the first roots is 1, 0. So 1, 0. And then the second root is negative 1, 0. Miss, how can we find the other points? You may use after 1, you may use positive 2 and negative 2 in here to find the other points. So let us plug in 2. So y is equal to find the value of y. So x squared minus 1. We'll still use, if y is equal to 2, we will still use the equation to find the y. If x is equal to 2, we're going to find the y. We're answering this one, the bottom one. We're completing the table of values by plugging in the input. Miss, where did you get negative 2 and positive 2? I just guess it. I just plug it in. Okay, after 1 is positive 2. So these are the input. Input, it's up to you what will be your input. You need to plug it in on the function to find your output. Okay? So to those who have questioned, where did I get 2 and negative 2? So I just plug them in as my input to find my output. Okay, so we'll now replace x into positive 2 squared minus 1. So 2 times 2, it's not 2 times 2, okay? I mean, in here, you will not multiply the exponent. You will multiply the base by itself twice because the exponent is 2. So you'll multiply the base twice. So 2 squared is 4. And then 4 minus 1 is 3. 3. Okay. So we have now 2, 3 for the next point. So if I'm not mistaken in here, okay, we have also a 3 in here. So let us now use negative 2 for the last point. So y is equal to, plug in negative 2 now for the last point to complete the table of values. Y now is equal to, remember that negative 2 squared, if you square a negative, it will become positive because negative times negative is positive. Negative 2 squared is similar to negative 2 times negative 2. It's not negative 2 times 2. No, that is incorrect. Exponent tells you how many times you will multiply the base. Okay, you will multiply the base by itself. So we'll multiply the base negative 2 twice. So negative 2 times negative 2, you will have positive 4. Okay? So now negative 2 squared, we have 4 again, minus 1. Minus 1. So y is equal to 3. Let me correct this one. This one is 3, not 2. Because we got 3 in here. I don't know why did I wrote 2 in here. My bad. So in here, it's 3 also. So if you notice, take note of this one. If you notice that vertex, isn't it on the video yesterday? The vertex is the middle number or midpoint, okay? There is a symmetrical figures on your output in here, 0, 0, and 3, 3. So that is one of the features of quadratic function. It is symmetrical figure. It is a symmetrical curve. Now, when we graph it, we have positive 2 and 3. Let me just graph it. Positive 2 and 3. So this will be, the next point will be in here. And then the next point in here, we have negative 2, positive 3. So in here. See? And then we'll just connect all the points and we create the parabola. So this parabola, so just imagine it is asymmetrical and we will draw an arrow on both ends. That means it can be extended infinitely. Okay, so that is how we graph quadratic function. Yay, yippee. So let us double check our answer by using a Desmos graphing calculator. If we graph it right and if the points are right. Okay, so let me just use Desmos graphing calculator in here. It is easily double check our answer if it is right or wrong using Desmos graphing calculator. As I mentioned and as I told you, Desmos graphing calculator make our life easier in Algebra 1. Okay, so the equation, we will just type the equation. The equation is y, let us use the keyboard in here since it has a square. Y is equal to x, you may just click x in here and then squared minus 1. See? We've graphed it right. It's going up and it passed through the roots. These are the zeros. If you want to double check your answer, this is the vertex. So we have same graph. Did you get it? Is it easy? A little bit confused or what? Write your comment on the chat box, please, for the response. Yes, you may use different number on the x as much as you plug it in and you use the same number. Then plug, you're right. You're going to plug the value of your x that you've choose on the function to find the output. Any questions? Okay. So as I repeat, zero, solutions, roots, and x-intercept are 1 and -1. You may see them on the graph itself. The vertex is the peak point. Question, what is the vertex now? Is it maximum or minimum? Can you please type your answer on the chat box? So the vertex is 0, -1. Can you tell me if is it maximum or minimum? Please type your answer on the chat box. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And you're absolutely right. It is minimum because that is the lowest point. Minimum. It is the lowest point. If it is a happy face, you have the lowest point. So happy face, it has the lowest point, and that lowest point is the minimum point. Okay? If it is a sad face, a frown face, you have the maximum point, and that point is the highest point. So don't get confused on those points. Any more questions? If there's no more questions, okay, let me show you the entire screen. There you go. You may take a picture of it, add it on your notes, because you are going to complete and answer the close notes that we've attached in here. Okay. Let me just full screen it. If you want to see the whole notes, you may just watch the video again. Oh, are you taking a picture of it? Sure. Okay. Let me show it. Okay, you may now take a picture of it if you want. Done? Okay, so now you are going to answer for your output for today, letter B, C, and D. Okay? So that's all for today. Don't forget to turn in your output at the end of the day or at the end of this week. Do you have any more questions? Please type Y on the chat box if you have question, and type N if you understand everything. Awesome responses. Okay. Thank you so much. You guys all have a wonderful day. Happy Tuesday, everyone.